Hey everybody, this is BeatTheBush. Today we're going to talk about income inequality. Recently I've been thinking a lot about income inequality and the ways it can be solved. We already know that the stalled government is not going to pass any laws that would kind of combat this inequality that's getting worse and worse. There's a bit of conflict of interest where most of the people that have the power to do so will not do so for the 99%. That's probably simplifying a lot, but inequality is getting a lot worse and worse year by year. I just saw a YouTube video on the CNN Money channel. The title is "This is Life on $7.50 an hour." I have gotten a job that earns $7 an hour. I know how grueling it is to work hour by hour doing manual labor to get that money. However, she's in a bit worse situation than I am because she has a kid and she has to support this kid and she's living alone. Back then when I got $7 an hour, I was just a kid in high school. We already know that the inequality is mainly getting worse because the people that hold the assets that appreciates are the richer people, because the people that have more money to save, and so the money that they saved in gets appreciated. So the more you have, the more appreciation that happens, and so it's a self-feeding cycle. So year after year it gets worse and worse. Let's just, for sake of simplicity, that we assume everybody spend the same amount, but then they make more and more as you go towards the right. Here, this is 0 to 100% of the people, equally distributed. Let's say in the beginning the inequality wasn't so bad, so it was over here, and so every single year it gets worse and worse because it comes up and up, higher and higher. The people over here on this end has a little bit saved up, but then it increases more and more and more. Over here, if you hold no assets whatsoever, of course it's not going to appreciate because you spent it all. It's just going to stay 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Probably it's going to go negative too, because if you happen to not have enough money, you end up going to loan sharks or fast money, whatever, and then you end up paying them close to 1,000% a year or something. The top 1% of the people get about 20% of the total take-home pay of the whole population. This is only income data. It doesn't check your assets that has appreciated. There's all these assets that appreciated and it was never counted because it wasn't sold. So in reality, it's a lot worse. It's probably close to, I saw a figure somewhere else for about 50%. So the top 1% makes close to half of all the money ever made. That's quite a bad skew. I'm okay with the skew. What I'm not okay with is that the people that drops off at the bottom, because people are working 2 jobs or something and they just don't make enough to support themselves. If it's just flat like this and then the people make more, people here just always stays flat. I think that's a bit more okay than what it is now, where people are falling off the bottom. They're not making enough. They're sacrificing their health. They can't afford dental care, so then they yank their tooth out rather than getting a root canal or getting a replacement tooth. A lot of people complain about inequality. You can protest all you want. The laws are not going to change in your favor. There are other ways to fix this, right? What are the solutions actually? People say, oh yeah, you need to pass better laws. People are like lobbying for like, better high minimum wage or whatever. All of that really doesn't help. It only puts a small dent in things. You talk about some billionaires doing philanthropy, they give so and so away. However, it's not putting even a small dent in the inequality that we're experiencing. You would have to make more than $400,000 a year in order to break the top 1%. If you make anything less, you're in the 99%. So doctors, plastic surgeons or whatnot, they're all still in the 99%. Who is actually in the top 1%? Well, CEOs, vice presidents, movie stars and stuff, they make more than $400K a year, right? The reason I've been thinking about this is because there's lots of protests. It's gonna get worse year after year. You think 10 years from now it's gonna have less protests than today? It's gonna have a lot more because the inequality will be worse. More and more people will have less to live on, to the point where they can work like a slave and they will have not enough money to eat even. That's when people get angry and they go out into the streets and they rob and do whatever they can to survive. People need to survive. If you look at the history, the civilizations come, and then the inequality starts to kick in, and then this is a repeating thing. Hopefully, we as a society in this current incarnation were able to do something about this. I'm not really sure if this will work or not, because I have no idea, but it's just an idea of mine where if we try to spend less, only buy the necessities, things that are healthy for us, and just cut back and actually, well, in the end, reduce corporate profits, then we might be able to reverse this trend a bit. Really rich guys, they can go and buy their Lamborghinis or whatever, but then can you imagine that if the 99% of the people, which control 70% of the GDP, if suddenly, let's say, we cut that down by half, where we suddenly just don't buy frivolous things, we don't buy random junk that we never need or ever use, then all of a sudden we will not feed this machine of inequality anymore. Maybe things will reverse, I don't know. Maybe we can reduce it, I don't know. But I do know that if a lot of us go and buy less goods that feeds the profits of companies, then we can actually reduce the profits and reduce the appreciation of the stock market. I personally do hold some equity, but then, I doubt this little YouTube video will change anything. I figure I make this as a fun idea to kick around, but hey, if it catches on, great. If it makes the 99%, or more importantly, the people at the bottom end better off, where they can actually survive a bit better, then great. I've been making the Freedom Pop video. That's like $1,000 in your pocket if you switch from a regular cell phone to a Freedom Pop, or if you take advantage of those credit card things that I talk about, credit card points and stuff. That's another $1,000 in your pocket a year, roughly. You just follow all these things, and maybe even with a very, very low income, you can still survive well, and then you can just sock some of that extra money you have away. Then you also put it in the stock market. Maybe if every one of us do that, of course the stock market may not appreciate as much. It might actually plummet quite a bit because the stock market is quite jittery. If suddenly one year the profits reduces by 20%, you can be sure that the price of the stock will reduce way more than 20%. It's also true that the current income redistribution efforts by the government, it's good. Yeah, it moves some of this, around and helps the needy, right? But looking at the news and stuff, it doesn't seem that's enough. The general population needs to know how to use their finances. The 99% controls 69% of the consumer spending. So if we're able to reduce that by half, we have a huge amount of control over the corporate profits, because they're making the corporate profits from the spending of the 99%. This is just a crazy idea. I hope it catches on. If it doesn't, so what? The way I envision things is, well, you're very efficient, but not everyone's very efficient. If you happen to watch this video, then maybe you can try to be efficient as well and spend a lot less. So that's all I have for today. Don't forget to like this video and comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.